Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're taking a look at game week 19 and whether we break the 3.5’mium or potentially burn a transfer. Now, clickbait title aside, I am actually seriously considering burning a transfer this week and hopefully my reasoning in this video will show you why I am considering doing that. But before we jump into that, a quick recap of game week 18. So we are recording this on the 1st of the 1st, so Happy New Year to everyone out there. I hope your teams are going strong. We are recording before the Spurs vs Villa and Nottingham Forest vs Chelsea matches, which are on tomorrow morning. Currently sitting on 45 points. With Bruyne coming off the bench for Cancelo will take me up to 51, which is actually my safety score at my current rank. So we'll just go through the team quickly. We've got Kepa and net still yet to play. Cancelo misses out the whole 90 minutes, which is throwing some headaches for a lot of managers out there. He's currently on 0. We got the Newcastle defensive double up in Botman and Trippier coming through in the 0-0 performance against Leeds. So Botman down at 4.4 million comes through with his second clean sheet after the restart, which is great to see. Almiron with 3 points in midfield. Kevin De Bruyne with the solo point in what looked to be a plum fixture for the Belgium. Rashford surprisingly gets benched for disciplinary reasons and comes on at the 45-minute mark to score a great goal, great composed finish in the box, have a second goal disallowed as the ricochet came off his hand before going into the net. But all things looking good on the Rashford front. He did move to playing up front for Martial when he came off in the match. We played Andreas, who struck a great volley from a corner, the edge of the 18. It was off target, took a deflection and went into the net, so he gets a fantasy assist, comes away with 5 points. Haaland captain with 12. We've got Kane up front, still yet to play against Aston Villa tomorrow. And Darwin Nunez on 5 points for his assist for Faye's second own goal. We have Ward on the bench with 3, McAllister on the bench with 0 as he is still returning from World Cup. Bruyne, who I've already mentioned, who will be coming off the bench, and Patterson with the solo point in 3rd spot. Now, if we have a look at how the team lines up in game week 19, this is how we look. We've got Kepa and net with the double at home to City and then away to Fulham. We've currently got Cancelo on the pitch against Chelsea away. We then have the tricky fixture for Newcastle, with Botman and Trippier both away to Arsenal, with Arsenal looking like they have basically picked up where they left off from before the break. Super attacking team. However, the Newcastle defence has been pretty solid for a good 7 to 8, 9 game weeks, and so I think Newcastle are going to put up a very strong performance against Arsenal and cause them problems that they potentially looks bad on paper, but I'm actually tipping Newcastle to do quite well in this fixture. However, I could swap out Botman here for Bruyne on the bench, who is away to Aston Villa. I'm considering doing that because, well, the fixture against Arsenal, you'd probably put money on Arsenal to score. Whereas Bruyne away to Aston Villa. Aston Villa have not been great in attack. Bruyne also has the advantage, a slight advantage, of seemingly being pulled around the 60 to 70 odd minute mark, and so He comes away with a clean sheet this week because he was pulled off before they conceded. Before they conceded, sorry, I should say. And so he has slightly more chance of banking a clean sheet being pulled off a little bit earlier. I know I am clutching at straws there, potentially. But I am seriously considering starting Bruyne over Botman. We'll have to wait and see. We've got Almiron against Arsenal. Now, I am also considering putting him on the bench for McAllister. Assuming McAllister is back, he is away to Everton on penalties and was actually doing quite well before the break. He, in 14 games in the first 16 game weeks, he came away with 5 goals and 4 assists, so that's 9 returns in 14 game weeks. I don't know if I really want to bench Almiron though. As you can see, the team's still quite up in the air. The players that I've got, I can quite easily swap in and swap out, but the main headaches in my team start with De Bruyne away to Chelsea this game week. He is one of the 2 players that I am considering selling, which would be part of breaking the 3.5 premiums. However, there is some issues around that, which we'll go into in a second. We've then got Rashford at home to Bournemouth, which is a great fixture for Rashford. I'm pretty sure he will start. He's been taught his lesson by Ten Hag. Assuming that Rashford doesn't go out and do anything daft in the next couple of games, I think he will start this match against Bournemouth, which looks absolutely plum. So we are not looking to sell him. This is the last easy game for Manchester United before they have a home fixture to Man City and then away to Arsenal in 20 and 21. So we definitely want to keep him for this Bournemouth fixture and then potentially look to move him on. Unsure as to what we're going to be doing there yet, but he's definitely staying for this game week. We'll be playing Andreas Pereira for his double away to Leicester and at home to Chelsea. Fulham also do have a non-Premier League fixture sandwiched in between the Leicester and Chelsea fixtures, but I do not think that's going to be any sort of issue for Pereira, so he will be starting for game week 19. I've obviously got Haaland up front. Whether or not he ends up being my captain is still up for debate. As we go through the various options in a second, you'll see why he may or may not be my captain. Kane has a good fixture away to Crystal Palace. Obviously, we haven't seen him play in game week 18 yet. The Spurs performance that we did see in game week 17 was pretty messy, so we're hoping to see a big turnaround from the Spurs' overall performance in the fixture tomorrow morning. But he is also currently not planning to go anywhere from my squad. Here's obviously the fixture against Aston Villa tomorrow, Crystal Palace away. He then has a double. It's a very tricky double because it's at home to Arsenal and then away to City, but it is still a double with Kane on penalties, and Spurs are always up for those big games. They then have Fulham away in 21, a tricky fixture again to play Man City again at home in 22, but then they have a pretty good run of fixtures with Leicester away, West Ham at home, Chelsea away. Chelsea at home's not that great, but then Wolves away, Nottingham Forest at home, Southampton away, Everton away, Brighton at home, Bournemouth at home, and these are all great fixtures for Kane, and is actually a little bit of a differential, I think, even though he is owned by 28.7% of all managers. He has been ticking away really well this season with 13 goals and 3 assists in 17 matches so far, or 17 game weeks, of which he hasn't actually played all 17, of course. Game week 7 was cancelled. And then we have Darwin Nunez away to Brentford, who is the other player in my team that I am potentially considering selling. which would obviously also break the 3.5 premium strategy, with Darwin being my half premium up front. Don't really want to sell Darwin though against Brentford away, and so the two players that I am looking to sell in game week 19 is KDB and Darwin for a bunch of various reasons. So first of all, take a look into Kevin De Bruyne. If I was to sell Kevin De Bruyne, it would actually only be for 1 week. And I would probably want to get him straight back in for the double in game week 20. The double is away to Manchester United and at home to Tottenham, so it's not the greatest double. They then have Wolves at home, Tottenham away, and Aston Villa at home in the first game of the double in 23. So they go double, Wolves at home, Tottenham away, and then a double with Villa and Arsenal as the two teams that he plays in the double. This is why I started with 3 Man City assets from the outset and avoided Mo Salah. I do have 0.2 million in the bank, which hopefully is still enough to go up to Salah. We will just quickly check that. 12.9 sale price of 12.5. Salah is out of my reach now, so I cannot even jump over to Mo Salah. It's a little bit annoying. But if I was going to sell De Bruyne against Chelsea away, it would only be for the 1 week, and then I would want him back for that double. And so I do not know if I want to spend one of my 2 free transfers in getting rid of Kevin De Bruyne, knowing that I would basically be buying him back straight away next week. This is why part of the reason why I'm seriously considering burning a transfer this week, because if I have 2 free transfers this week and sell De Bruyne, I will have another 2 free transfers next week. But one of those transfers would already be tied up in buying De Bruyne back. And Chelsea away on paper looks like a bit of a tricky fixture, but Chelsea haven't been all that strong defensively for a little while, and as they learn the new tactics that Potter is trying to implement, they have been a bit shaky at times, and this is an ideal game for the likes of Kevin De Bruyne to be playing. So really have to weigh up whether or not it's worthwhile spending 2 transfers on De Bruyne just to avoid this one Chelsea fixture, knowing that I will probably want him back next week. And at the moment I'm leaning towards just holding on to De Bruyne and playing him in this Chelsea fixture. If we have a quick look at what De Bruyne has done in game week 17 and game week 18, I've pulled up some stats on the left hand side on screen you'll see game week 17, and on the right hand side you'll see game week 18 just for Kevin De Bruyne. His expected goals in 17 was 0.41 with an expected assist of 0.47, so these are pretty good fixtures, pretty good stats. But in game week 18, these stats drop off quite heavily. It was noticeable in watching the game. I did not at all feel like De Bruyne was peppering the goal, setting up big chances. He didn't look as dangerous as what he did in game week 17. So there was a bit of a drop off there. Pep has obviously also changed the team around slightly, and so I'm wondering if De Bruyne has picked up a slightly different role in game week 18. He just didn't seem as involved in what was happening moving forward. Both 17 and 18, he only had 1 penalty area touch versus 2 across the 2 game weeks. 3 goal attempts to 4. I mean, these are not figures that are absolutely, blowing your mind or anything. These are very low figures. And the chances created, though, he did set up two big chances in game week 18 compared to the one in game week 17. However, I did feel like Kevin De Bruyne was a lot more dangerous in game week 17. And if you have a look at the heat map here, you'll see, I mean, he's not really in and around the box, and a lot of these touches are a little bit far out. He's more, as I was watching in the game, he seems like the assister of the assister in most situations. Game week 17, I felt like he did set up his teammates with a lot more dangerous attack, which was non-existent, or seemingly non-existent to the eye in game week 18. And so this is why I'm sort of considering selling him. He doesn't seem to be as involved in the attack, but I don't know if it's worth the additional transfer to get rid of him and then buy him back. I do not think if I did sell De Bruyne, I would be switching to anyone else in the Man City team. Anyone like Foden or Mahrez or Grealish. I mean, these guys are all rotation prone. De Bruyne seems to be the most nailed on. And I do like that assurity of starts. But it is Pep Roulette, and Kevin De Bruyne has been benched earlier in the season. He could quite easily get benched in this Chelsea fixture or one of the games in the double, and so that is also playing on my mind. But at the moment, he feels like a hold. And so we then move across to Darwin Nunez. Now, he's the only other player I'm probably considering selling for game week 19. But it would be an extremely reluctant sell. Darwin Nunez is just an absolute machine. He is all over the pitch. He had more than enough chances to haul both game week 17 and game week 18. In game week 18, he only comes away with the assist, as I said, for Faye's second own goal. But he just causes chaos on the pitch. He works extremely hard. He's rapid as well. The man is quick to the ball. And he looks like he has a complete game apart from when he gets into the penalty box. He just, I don't know, he seems to shoot rather than finish. This is just down to whether to how clinical Nunez is. He could have come away with a monster haul in game week 17. He could have also come away with a pretty decent haul in game week 18 as well. He could have quite easily come away with a couple of goals. But it was just not to be. Now, elsewhere in the Liverpool team, we saw both Robertson and Elliott hobbling off the pitch as well. Gakpo is also on the cusp of being signed. They are trying to rush that through to try and get Gakpo out as quickly as possible. Obviously, with the injury concerns at Liverpool, they want him on the pitch as soon as possible. And how Gakpo affects Nunez is anyone's guess. It would be an extremely reluctant sell for Nunez if I was to sell Nunez, and Brentford away does not feel like the fixture where you really want to be jumping off Darwin. Brentford, I mean, I'm expecting to see some pretty impressive stats for Darwin again in this fixture away to Brentford, and if he can just manage to sink a goal, he might just take off and go on an absolute monster haul. I mean, he is looking like one of those players that could just come away with a hat-trick in any of these games if he just got his shooting boots on. And so it would be, if I was to sell Darwin this week, I could just see him coming away with a hat-trick against Brentford and giving me an absolute... it would be a very annoying start to 2023 if I was to sell Darwin this week and he went absolutely mental against Brentford. And his fixtures upcoming, he's got Brentford away, Brighton away, Chelsea at home, Wolves away, Everton at home, Newcastle away is pretty tricky. So he's got Chelsea and Newcastle, Crystal Palace away. I mean, these fixtures are all great. My tentative plan setting up the 3.5 premium strategy was to sell Darwin to Mitrovic for Fulham's double. Now, Mitrovic is still sitting on 4 yellow cards. It's not a great double either. The better fixture of the two is the first game, so Leicester away, which he will definitely play, unless, of course, he picks up some sort of injury or reoccurs, or re-injures that injury that he's been obviously dealing with for a while now. But Chelsea at home is not the greatest fixture anyway for Mitrovic, and I could quite easily see him picking up a 4th yellow and being out of the double completely. That would basically, I don't think even if I did buy Mitrovic, I do not think I would actually captain Mitrovic this week. And if, playing devil's advocate, Mitrovic did pick up that yellow in that Leicester fixture, I would probably still want Darwin instead for his fixture away to Brentford. And so I'm very, I already do not want to sell Darwin. The only player I would probably sell him for would be to Mitrovic, and I am not at all sold on the Mitrovic trade. I do not see too many other places I would actually downgrade Darwin to, and I probably wouldn't be spending my other transfer either. And so if I did downgrade Darwin to Mitrovic, I would probably just only make the one transfer, have all those funds in the bank, and I would actually also lose value on Darwin. I picked Darwin up in game week 16, the final game before we all went on break for the World Cup. He was down at 8.9 at that point, and although I do have the 0.2 in the bank, Darwin out when he could go mental against Brentford to bring Mitrovic in. I could just see it now. I'd sell Darwin, he goes mental, or buy Mitrovic, he gets a yellow card early on in the game, does nothing against Leicester. Darwin's price goes up, I have to buy him back for a more expensive price. Mitrovic doesn't even get his double. I mean, it just seems to be written in the stars that that's all going to go horribly wrong. And this is why I'm seriously considering burning a transfer in game week 19. I do not see any other upgrades or downgrades that I really want to make around the team. And so I'm more leaning towards holding on to Darwin and potentially looking at dealing with the other headache that has now arisen in Joao Cancelo being benched for game week 17, coming on late in the game in that fixture, but then not making it onto the pitch at all in game week 18. Now, Pep said that Rico Lewis was just playing out of his skin and basically played his way into the team. And so whether or not Pep still thinks that the performance from Rico Lewis in game week 18 against Everton was worthy of him holding his spot, I'm not sure. Where would I go from Cancelo as well? Where would anyone go from Cancelo? He's owned by 50% of the game. I think Pep would probably I think Pep will probably play Cancelo in this Chelsea fixture. It's a pretty big game for Man City. They definitely have to win this one, having dropped points against Everton, where they should have been picking up all 3 points. Arsenal came away with their victory, and they are getting further and further away from Man City, and so they definitely cannot be dropping any points. So would they go with the youngster, or would Pep go with youngster of Rico Lewis in such a big fixture? Probably not. I would be gambling probably more on the fact that Cancelo would start this game, but Pep Roulette, who knows what the man is thinking. And so if I did decide that I was quite concerned about Cancelo's chances of starting, I really want to be buying someone from the City fixture for that double next game week. I mean, we do not really want to be getting rid of City just before they go into the double. These three fixtures are tricky though. I mean, Chelsea away, Manchester United away, and Tottenham at home. New Year's Day headaches, eh? And more ways for many managers out there, I'm guessing. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do here. I think the most likely conclusion for my particular team is I'm probably going to burn the transfer. I mean, we'll see what comes out of these fixtures tomorrow morning with Spurs and Chelsea. I mean, if Kane picks up an injury, then that's a pretty simple trade out. We wouldn't want to have that much money sitting there, and I'd probably just jump across to someone like Mitrovic if that was the case. But assuming no injuries arise in the remaining games, I am leaning quite heavily towards burning a transfer for game week 19, as I just do not see what else I would do with this team at the moment. Well, that's the video for today. Pretty short and sweet, hopefully. If you have any ideas as to what you think this 3.5 premium strategy should do, should I actually break the 3.5 premiums and start dispersing the funds? I mean, I could get rid of De Bruyne and just jump on a whole bunch of 8 million midfielders. Start spreading the funds around, but the reason that I actually started with this 3.5 premiums in the first place was it's very easy to start with 3.5 premiums and then break the strategy and disperse the funds. But if you want to get back into the 3.5 premiums, going in reverse is a lot harder to do, because once those funds are spread, pulling them back together to jump on a premium asset becomes quite difficult, as you have to do it over a couple of game weeks or start taking hits. And so I don't know if there's actually enough here for me to start breaking the 3.5 premiums apart, especially with Spurs about to double, my 3 City assets about to double, Andreas already doubling, maybe potentially jumping on Mitrovic for a double, which I could do with a Kane out, but I don't want to sell him for the double. And Darwin is he is going to haul massive in maybe game week 19 or a couple of game weeks time. I do not want to miss out on that, and so I'm kind of locked into place. If you did make it this far through the video, please do consider giving it a like, and if you are new around here, hit that big red subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified about more FPL content coming your way. And until next time, I will catch you again shortly. Happy New Year, everyone.